When thinking about energy, it's very important to define system. So like I could pick a ball falling and the ball in the earth would be my system. But whatever your system is, it's important to recognize what's inside the system and what's outside. So we'd have the environment outside the system, and it can do things to your system. Okay? For example, it can do work on your system. Okay? That's we'll find out. We'll define work in the next video, but that's like pushing on the system and causing it to speed up. Any force applied over a distance is work, and that can change the energy in the system. Or you can heat the system. Okay? You can heat it, and that can add energy to the system, right? And then there can be things coming out of the system. So for example, you could have the system can do work on the environment. Okay, so the system could push against the environment, and so there's ways of these are transfers of energy from outside the system to inside the system. So any crossing the boundary is a transfer. So anytime something crosses the boundary of your system and the environment, is a transfer of energy. But inside the system, energy can take on different forms. And so we've introduced you to kinetic energy, which is the energy of motion. It's 1/2 mv squared. Just if the object's moving, it's got kinetic energy. But that can speed up because maybe it's losing some sort of potential energy, like the ball falling. It's losing gravitational potential energy. Potential energy is a stored energy. You could have chemical energy in a potential energy. You could have elastic energy. It's an energy that can do something. It can make something move. Okay? And these can be transferred one back to the other. Like I could take a ball and I could throw it up in the air. So it starts out with a kinetic energy and gains height, which is a stored potential energy, because now that can come back down and speed back up. And then they can also turn those energies into a thermal energy. Okay, so when something is moving and skids across the surface, with that surface being in the system, then the surface and the system will warm up, okay, because of friction. And so that creates thermal energy. We lose some kinetic energy to thermal energy. And similarly, you can lose potential energy to thermal energy as well. I shouldn't put a back arrow on these, because thermal energy can never increase kinetic energy, can never increase potential energy, except in rare cases. But we won't explore those in this class. But in a more advanced study, you could have thermal energy transforming into other forms of energy. But we'll ignore those cases in this class. So these are called transformations. Okay. And so with those transformations, these can change their form in different ways. We're going to start by looking at just kinetic and potential energy, and then kinetic and work. We'll focus on those ideas first, and then see how your definition of your system matters in terms of what do you have in your system versus what's being done to your system. It's important to understand all these terminologies.